Why do they fear you? What is it about your presence that makes people uncomfortable, uneasy, and on edge? Is it your strength, your resolve, or perhaps something far greater, your potential? Today, we're going to uncover the truth behind the fear you inspire in others and, more importantly, why that fear is the greatest sign that you're on the right path. If you've ever felt underestimated, doubted, or told to stay in your place, this message is for you. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why they fear you, and how to use that fear as fuel for your greatness. This is Motivation for Success, where we believe in pushing past limits, breaking down barriers, and unlocking the unstoppable force within you. Have you noticed how people start paying attention the moment you begin to grow? Suddenly, those who had nothing to say about your life now have endless advice for you. It's not a coincidence. They don't fear who you are right now, they fear who you're becoming. The version of you that exists today is comfortable for them. It's familiar, predictable, and easy to control. But the version of you that's rising? That version is powerful, bold, and unstoppable. And that's exactly what makes them uncomfortable. People are fine with you staying the same because it allows them to stay the same too. But the moment you start growing, everything shifts. Your ambition exposes their stagnation. Your courage forces them to confront their own fears. And rather than face that uncomfortable reality, they project their insecurities onto you. They'll disguise their fear as concern by saying things like, "Don't get too ahead of yourself," or "Are you sure that's realistic?" But pay attention, that's not advice. That's fear talking. It's not your potential that's the problem. It's that your potential reminds them of what they could have been if they'd been brave enough to try. Here's what they won't tell you: they see your potential before you do. They feel it in your energy, see it in the way you walk with purpose, and hear it in the way you speak with more confidence. People can sense change before it fully happens. They were comfortable with the old you because it made them feel safe. But the new you? The one who no longer seeks permission. That version is dangerous. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're doing everything right. And that scares them. People aren't afraid of your mistakes or your failures. They're afraid of your comeback. They're afraid of the moment you turn every setback into a stepping stone. They're afraid of what happens when you realize that failure isn't final and that you can't be broken. Denzel Washington once said, "Don't aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference." Those words aren't just motivational. They're a blueprint. Potential isn't something people hand to you. Potential is something you claim. You don't need permission to be great. You don't have to wait for someone to discover you. If you're waiting for someone to tell you it's your time, let me be the one to say it: this is your time. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you greatness. You have to claim it. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for support. Start now. The only thing standing between you and the version of yourself that's unstoppable is action. Not permission. Action. And here's the part they don't want you to know: they know you're going to win. That's why they're watching so closely. They're not afraid of you failing. They're afraid of you succeeding because your success will force them to confront every excuse they've ever made for themselves. That's why they whisper behind closed doors. That's why they start watching your every move. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're doing something right. This is where you have to make a choice. Do you shrink to make them comfortable, or do you rise so high that they have no choice but to look up? Playing it safe might make them feel secure, but it will never make you great. Every person who's ever done something legendary had to face this moment. The moment where you decide if you'll stay small or if you'll rise. And let me remind you, you weren't put here to stay small. You were put here to rise. If this message spoke to you, drop a comment below and say, "I'm just getting started." Let them know you're not done yet. Share this message with someone who needs to be reminded of their power. And if you're ready to fully step into your potential, hit that like button and subscribe for more motivation just like this. Because they don't fear who you are right now. They fear who you're becoming. And trust me, they should. People aren't afraid of your mistakes. They're not afraid of your failures. They're afraid of your resilience. Failure is familiar to them. People understand it, and they even expect it. That's why nobody says much when you're down. But the moment you rise, the moment you stand back up stronger than before, that's when the whispers start. People don't fear the fall, they fear the comeback. They fear what happens when you refuse to quit, when you turn every setback into a setup for something greater. Your resilience makes them uncomfortable because it's a reminder that failure is not final. And that's a reality some people aren't ready to face. Denzel Washington once said, "Fall forward. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success." Most people fall and stay down, but you fall forward. Every loss you face, every door that closes, every no you hear, you use it as fuel. You don't just recover. You rise stronger. And that's what makes people uneasy. They can't control you. They can't predict you. They can't stop you. It's why some people will try to discourage you with concern disguised as wisdom. They'll say, "Don't get your hopes up," or "Are you sure you're ready for that?" But that's not advice, that's fear talking. It's their fear, not yours. They see that you're different, and it forces them to confront the fact that they gave up on themselves. Most people quit after one failure. They call it "not meant to be" and walk away. But every time you rise, you prove them wrong. Every time you stand back up, you remind them that failure is a moment, not a final destination. That's why they doubt you. It's not that they think you can't win. It's that they know you will. They know it's only a matter of time, and that realization makes them uncomfortable. That's why they watch you so closely. It's why they suddenly have advice for you when they had nothing to say while you were struggling. They're not afraid of your mistakes, they're afraid of your success. Resilience isn't given, it's built. It's built every time you face adversity and refuse to fold. It's built every time you keep going when quitting would have been easier. People fear resilience because it's proof that you can't be broken. And when you can't be broken, you can't be controlled. That's why people watch you. That's why they doubt you. They fear what they can't break. So the next time you're knocked down, remember this: they're not afraid of the fall. They're afraid of what happens when you get back up. If this message spoke to you, drop a comment below and say, "I'm still here." Let them know you're not done yet. Share this message with someone who needs to be reminded of their power. And if you're ready to fully step into your potential, hit that like button and subscribe for more motivation just like this. Because they don't fear your failures. They fear your resilience. And trust me, they should. Most people spend their lives wearing masks, hiding their true selves just to fit in. But you've chosen to be real. You've decided to live in your truth, and that decision makes you powerful. It's not because you're too much or too bold, it's because your authenticity forces people to confront everything they're hiding within themselves. When you walk in your truth, you become a mirror, reflecting back the parts of themselves they've been running from. Some people will be inspired, but many will be intimidated. Denzel Washington said, "You pray for rain, you gotta deal with the mud too." That's what authenticity is all about. It's not just showing off the polished parts of yourself. It's about embracing the flaws, the mistakes, and the messy parts too. And that's where most people get stuck. They want to be liked more than they want to be real. But you don't live for likes, you live for truth. That makes you dangerous. It makes you unstoppable. People can't control someone who has nothing to prove and nothing to hide. Here's the truth: they see your freedom, and it scares them. They see you living unapologetically, and it reminds them that they could have done the same. But instead of being inspired, they feel threatened. They'll call you too much or too bold, but what they're really saying is, I'm not ready to face my own truth. Your self-acceptance highlights their insecurities. Your authenticity exposes the parts of themselves they've buried for years. But their fear is not your burden. You don't have to shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable. You weren't put here to stay small. Authenticity is a superpower. It draws the right people into your life and removes the ones who never belonged there. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. People who walk in their truth don't just live for themselves, they give others permission to do the same. And while some will hate it, the right people will be inspired by it. If you've ever been called too much for simply being yourself, drop a comment below and say, I'm just being me. Let the world know that being real is better than being liked. Because they don't fear your authenticity, they fear what it reveals about themselves. Dreams make people uncomfortable. Not because dreams are risky, but because dreams challenge the status quo. They don't fear your dreams, they fear what happens when you do something about them. It's easy for people to dismiss a dream when it's just an idea in your head. As long as you keep it to yourself, they can ignore it. But the moment you start taking action, everything changes. Your decision to chase your dreams puts a spotlight on everything they've been avoiding. Denzel Washington said, "Dreams without goals are just dreams." And that's the difference. Most people have dreams, but only a few have the courage to attach goals and action to them. The moment you take that step, you separate yourself from the crowd. The people around you begin to see you differently, not because you've changed, but because you're now a reflection of what they could have been. Your courage becomes a mirror, forcing them to confront their own inaction. And instead of facing it, they project their insecurities onto you. They'll tell you your dreams are too big or unrealistic, but what they're really saying is, I was too afraid to try. Dreaming big requires courage. It's easy to dream in silence, to keep your ideas locked away in your mind. It feels safe there. But safety isn't where growth happens. The moment you share your dream with the world, everything shifts. People who had nothing to say suddenly have opinions. People who never noticed you before suddenly have concerns about your decisions. But don't be fooled, their doubt has nothing to do with your ability. It's a reflection of their fears, not yours. Your courage to chase your dream exposes every excuse they've ever told themselves. And instead of letting that inspire them, they choose to be intimidated. But that's not your burden to carry. Your dream doesn't need to make sense to anyone but you. It belongs to you. Your dream doesn't require their validation, their understanding, or their approval. So when they tell you it's too risky or too ambitious, remember that they're only speaking from their own limitations. You're not required to live by the limits of others. You're here to break limits. If you've got a big dream you're working on, drop it in the comments. Let the world know you're not afraid to dream big, and most importantly, you're not afraid to chase it. Because they don't fear your dreams, they fear what happens when you refuse to stop chasing them. This is the one that shakes them to their core, legacy. They don't fear your accomplishments. They don't fear your success. They fear the mark you're leaving on this world. Success is temporary, but legacy lasts forever. It's not about money, titles, or fame. It's about impact. It's about influence. It's about the lives you touch and the people you inspire. That's what scares them. Because while they're focused on getting by or playing it safe, you're building something that will outlive you. They know that long after you're gone, your name will still be spoken. Your story will still be told. And that's a reality they're not ready to face. Denzel Washington said, "At the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better." That's the essence of legacy. It's about more than personal success, it's about how your actions ripple through generations. Every choice you make today echoes into tomorrow. Every lesson you teach, every act of kindness, every story you share, it all becomes part of your legacy. People who fear legacy aren't afraid of you personally. They're afraid of what you represent. You represent possibility. You represent courage. You represent proof that one person can change the world. And people who've lived small, quiet lives find that hard to accept. Here's the truth, they know they'll be forgotten. They know that when their time is up, there won't be much to remember. They've spent years chasing things that have no lasting impact. Cars, clothes, followers, and status, things that lose value the moment they're gone. But you're chasing something that can't be erased. Every life you inspire, every person you help, every word you speak with purpose, all of it becomes part of your legacy. That's why they watch you so closely. That's why they criticize you. It's not because you're wrong, it's because you're building something permanent while they're focused on things that fade. When people see you walking with purpose, when they see you talking with conviction, they know something is different about you. They see that you're building something bigger than yourself. They see that you're not just here to get by. You're here to make an impact. And that impact isn't just personal, it's generational. People will try to stop you, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your commitment makes them feel small. Your legacy reminds them that they could have done more. Your drive to create something timeless forces them to confront their own regrets. But that's not your burden to carry. You weren't put here to live small just to make other people feel big. Your legacy isn't just your story, it's part of theirs too. Every life you touch becomes part of your legacy. Every person you help rises with you. And that's the part that scares them most. You're not just building for yourself. You're lifting others as you rise. You're planting seeds that will grow for generations. And that's something they can't compete with. Their fear has nothing to do with you. It's about their own decision to settle, to play small, to stay invisible. But you refuse to be invisible. You refuse to live a life that's forgettable. That's what makes you unstoppable. If you've ever been inspired by someone's legacy, drop their name in the comments. Let's honor those who dared to make a difference. And if you're ready to build a legacy of your own, hit that like button, subscribe, and let the world know, you're not here to be forgotten. You're here to leave a mark. Because they don't fear your success, they fear your legacy. And trust me, they should. If this video inspired you, now is the time to act. Don't just walk away from this message feeling motivated, do something about it. Step into your potential. Tap into your resilience. Embrace your authenticity. Dream bigger than ever before. And most importantly, build a legacy that will be remembered long after you're gone. If you found value in this message, hit that subscribe button and join our Motivation for Success community. Tap the like button if this message lit a fire inside you, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Together, we can become the unstoppable force that the world fears but desperately needs. Thank you for being here. Your journey is just beginning. Stay strong. Stay inspired. And always remember, you are unstoppable. See you in the next video.